How many things do you think Google says you can hold in your head at once?
I'm gonna say I tapped out at 15, so
You are a rock star. We are only really doing well with 4 things. And think about it. Think about it. When you make a grocery list,
mhm.
I mean, I know for me, after 3 or 4
For
items, most of it's getting left behind because you just can't keep all that in the front. You write it down. Your paper has no context of what these things mean. The app is the same thing. It has no context. So the only thing we can do is what? What's on your mind this week, cousin?
so this week has been a busy week, as is every other week, but this week, our last few weeks have actually been a brain sweep week for me. So
A
I
brain sweep.
yeah,
What's
brain
that?
sweep. I'm sweeping my brain.
Okay, that's a new one.
So
Tell me about that.
I'm sweeping my brain. I'm realizing that I'm not necessarily too busy. It's just that at the end of the day, I'm having brain fatigue.
Mm.
So I was in the kitchen last week and was just, putting up groceries, trying to figure out, okay, groceries are what's next. And I'm just standing there thinking, going through my list of things to do. And I'm up to like number 15. And so I'm like, I'm gonna have a seat and process this. And while I'm sitting thinking I'm, going through my to-do list, I actually wound up going to Pinterest. So I wound up doing nothing. So I wound up doing nothing. And it wasn't because of laziness, it wasn't because I wasn't motivated. I just didn't know where to start. And for me, it wasn't that I'm not wanting to be productive. I'm probably guilty of being too productive.
Yeah, wanting to get too many,
Yeah,
committing to too
and
many.
just keeping busy, but in my head, I was thinking, "Okay, I don't wanna just be busy, I actually want to be productive," but I just didn't know where to start, and I feel like that happens a lot. I thought back to Thanksgiving dinner. I didn't take any time off work, so Wednesday night, I hadn't done any prep, and I'm looking at my menu. I've got baking, I've got cooking to do, I've got chopping, across the board. And so I actually did just a brain dump of my menu. I actually took a snapshot of my menu into ChatGPT and
Mm.
was like, I've got one oven. I even shared the oven model. So it knew, what I was up against and said, kind of walk me through, at this point, I've got 24 hours to get dinner on the table. What should I do in what order? Again, I just didn't wanna be busy, obviously, the biggest driver was the turkey, it's the star of the
Mhm.
show. I needed to plan around oven time for
Mhm.
the turkey. So, Chat was able to prioritize what needed to be done in what order, and then why. And so, I'm thinking about after going through Pinterest, I'm like, "Okay, I didn't get anything done. I still have 15 things to do."
And you're running out of time.
And I'm running out of time because I'm sure some of those items have deadline. And
Mhm.
so, I think we all experience that, especially a day after work. I've made so many decisions. I'm just in decision fatigue, brain
Yeah.
fatigue. And so, thinking about my Thanksgiving dinner and my trusty chat buddy, I said to myself, I'm thinking, going through my to do list, and I think for a lot of us, it's not that we're not being productive. We think, okay, you need to have a to do list, but a to do list is great. But it's like, what is next? What steps should I take? In what order? What can wait? What can't? Where should I best use my time? And that's where I was really struggling. It's not a matter of discipline, it's just
Yeah.
decision fatigue.
And holiday is big. I'm glad you brought up holiday because I host Thanksgiving as well. And you talked about dinner, but think about you've got guests coming in, you've got travel that you're, looking at travel schedules to make sure
Mhm,
flights are arriving. You've got all these things that come with being a host, and you're literally compartmentalizing your brain into like 20 different things. You're
mhm.
playing 20 different roles. But guess what? Let me look something up. How many things do you think Google says you can hold in your head at once?
I'm gonna say I tapped out at 15, so
You are a rock star. We are only really doing well with 4 things. And think about it. Think about it. When you make a grocery list,
mhm,
I mean, I know for me, After 3 or 4
For
items, most of it's getting left behind because you just can't keep all that in the front. So I salute you. 15 things? No, I'm not even trying that, but they're saying 4 things well, right? So
Mhm.
you had 4 items to cook. You can only think about 4 of those items at once. How much was on your menu? If you had 7 items, that's how I forgot the cranberry sauce, okay? Because we didn't write it down. We didn't use anything to help us. But yeah, I mean, it's bound to happen when you're trying to do
Mhm.
that many things at once.
I can certainly see that. I know early on in my career, I used to say that I was great at multitasking. And I remember being in a conference once and they didn't break it down to 4 items, but essentially said that in theory, it's very difficult to multitask. And so I remember the speaker saying, if you're a multitasker, you're doing multiple things half but.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I took that off my resume.
Yeah,
I said that I was no longer team multitasker or something at least that I wanted to promote,
yeah,
you know, for me. And so that's where I was thinking with this, like, I don't want to be all over the place with what I need to do. And so, typically, if I have something that I'm challenged with, I'll usually go into AI and say, okay, how do I do this? So there's some things I can help with. But in this case, it wasn't that I needed assistance with any of the tasks, and at least initially, I just needed direction in terms of what to do next.
and I think you mentioned writing it down because that's what we've been trained to do, right? Make your to-do list, write it down. How when you were standing in the kitchen, like
Yeah, I had my phone out. I'm looking
like,
at my list. I'm going through the to do, and that's why, when I got to number 15,
mm,
I'm scrolling because I'm a great, something that I pride myself on. I've got a great to-do list. I'm a great planner. I can spreadsheet, with the best of them in terms of what to do. But my dilemma was, again, these weren't like priority items per se, they were just things that needed to be done, and at the end of the day, like I said, I had just gone to the grocery store, I was just over it.
yeah. And I think your brain was really trying to tell you, I don't want to hold all these things, and I don't want to be responsible for something falling through the cracks. I think that's the stressor that like you don't remember them, even if you don't do them in the right order. What
Yeah.
are the consequences of?
Yeah, and I felt like, going back and it's funny that you mentioned those 4 items that your brain can hold on to, because what I felt like is, I'm juggling the oranges. I've got oranges in this hand, I've got oranges in this hand. If I've got, when I think about my brain, and so it's holding on to the oranges, if I'm holding on to them, my hands aren't free to do anything. I'm just holding them. I'm doing a really great, and that's what I felt like my to-do list. Like I'm doing a really great job holding my to-do list, but that's all that I have bandwidth to do is to hold on to my to-do list. Like I was really counting the items, but all my bandwidth was there. So because I'm holding the oranges, I don't have an arm to stir a pot, give my
Make
daughter a
the orange
hug,
juice.
make
Like,
make the orange juice, review homework because I'm just standing there juggling,
mm.
holding the oranges. And so I'm trying to figure out how do I sweep my brain? And that's what essentially happened. How do I do a brain sweep so that I have capacity to go through my to-do list, but also process things?
So have you tried any apps? Because there's these productivity apps. Is that something you considered, or
Um,
is that the same as writing it
yeah,
down?
I think that's the default, and it's not a matter of not being organized. To
Okay.
some degree, at least most of the apps that I have found, I can schedule, they're great about scheduling tasks for you. But again, you have to make the decision of what's most important. And, what's most important? What should I do next? What's a low priority? What's missing information?
Mhm.
Like, what do I have on my to do list that I'm not yet prepared to even tackle because there are other, sub steps that are required?
You just hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail. So writing it down, it gets it out of your head,
Mhm.
but you're still holding it.
Right.
And then the apps. they don't tell you, they don't help you with order.
Correct.
So the pattern of both of those is that they lack context. You write it down, your paper has no context of what these things mean. The app is the same thing. It has no context. So the only thing we can do is what, use AI. Like that's the joy of AI.
Yeah,
It is context king.
it is context, but, for me, like I said, I'm used to going to AI, but again, I didn't necessarily need AI to solve the problem of how do I do this? And so I wanted to approach
Mm,
it from a different perspective where I'm saying it's not a matter of, motivation. I needed clarity.
yeah.
So that's essentially what I needed AI to do. The role was to provide clarity, not to troubleshoot, but to provide clarity on my to-do list.
So bring me to the moment where you decide to drop the oranges.
Yes.
And you pick up that Chat GPT app. Bring me
Yes.
to that moment. Like, what's that realization? Because I think that's what is really going to help people make the shift from continuing to hold the
Yes.
oranges to doing.
So after strolling Pinterest, and just doing random 20 minutes of decompressing, I decided to just open up chat. And because for me, it was where do I start first? And so I literally went through just my to do list. These are the things that I need to do. But I first said, I need clarity. I'm overwhelmed. Here's my to do list. And I listed them out. Um, I was in Michael's a few weeks ago and I saw that it wasn't even Christmas, but Valentine's Day ornaments and decorations were on sale. And so I'm just like, I need to get those before the Valentine's Day party. I want to dispute my property tax. I need to schedule a doctor's. And I just started going through the items, with as much detail. I didn't copy it, and I didn't even copy it from my to do list. I just went through everything that was top of mind. And so what I did was, again, I did a brain dump, and I suggest everyone else do that. Like, don't spend any time typing it up. Just give it that dump of everything, that messiness. And so essentially what I then asked chat to do was provide clarity of what I should do in what order. And, going back to, what's a quick win? What can I do immediately? What do I need to delegate? What's going to take a long period of time? And then essentially, where am I missing information based on everything that I've given? And so with that, again, that's where I'm sweeping my brain at this point.
So was that in a single prompt, or did you kind of go step by step?
I went step by step. So the first part was just the messiness, getting everything down. And that essentially was just a voice note.
Okay.
Okay, so whatever app you would use to use your voice note, even ChatGPT is a great, you can put your voice note there and just say, "Hey, say this voice note."
Yeah.
It's one of the best in making sure it's correct in terms of what you're speaking. So I essentially did that and then said, from this voice dump, give me clarity on these items and break them down. And then for me, I had 4 buckets that I wanted to that I wanted it to clarify. Again, quick wins. We're all motivated by checking things off. So let's go through those items that are low priority that will be quick wins. Work, what's gonna take more time. Give me the logistics of who, what, when, and why. Not necessarily, solving for each issue, but just giving me clarity. And then missing information. Like, what do I not have enough information right now to make a decision on?
Yeah, and I think what you said is key. It's not about, in this use case, it's not about AI actually doing anything. It's just
Mhm.
helping you sort through your thoughts and then giving you a step by step playbook basically to go from. And I think when, for some reason, when you have a to do list at work or something that's very tactical, it's somewhat easier to go through. But when it comes to home life and there's, emotion and feeling attached to everything, why is it harder to tick, 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 tick? And
That's a great question. And that's for me where I'm hoping to have the most leverage with
Mhm.
AI. Because I feel like at work, and I don't know if if there are other people that feel like this, but at work, I'm killing it. I don't know, what it is that about work, but like you said, in those projects, they're tactical. I'm going through those things. But I mean, at home life, those are still projects, things that I'm working on. But for some reason, mentally, there's like this disconnect.
I think the stakes are different. The stakes are different, right?
Mhm.
You're like, if I don't figure out what we're going to eat, we're going to starve. Like,
Uh-huh.
my children are going to be bugging me every 5 minutes. What's for dinner? What's for dinner? Versus I think it's just the stakes are different, right?
Mhm.
Those are the people who are the closest to you. You kind of want to have your stuff together.
Yeah, and I think that, at least at work, sometimes it's like everything feels urgent.
And even though I mean, even at work, everything may feel urgent, but you probably could use this same method because everything's not urgent, right? You still need to decide, what deserves my attention.
And yeah, and for me, that's where I just had that brain fatigue. Like I don't
Hmm.
know, right now what I need to tackle. And it's not something that I do, you know, every week. But when I have those moments where I'm just like, I don't know where to go next. And I know there are items that I don't want to fall through, slip
Yeah.
through the cracks.
So, what was the output? What did the output look like?
So the output was great. So, when I was talking about going to Michael's, one of the first things it said that was a quick win, but not a quick win to go shopping at Michael's, but to figure out when the sale ended and then mark that date in my
Mm.
calendar. So I still need to tackle that task, but to take it off my brain where it doesn't become a high priority. So if the sale doesn't end for another 2 weeks, you've at least got another 2 weeks to figure out when you want to go. And then it also said, and see if you can then double that up with another errand that you have in that area. So I've got some time there with the property tax, to go on, to Google, figure out when my deadline is and how I need to submit my appeal. One of the other things was related to I need to make a doctor's appointment. That one. It said that I also put we're doing some remodeling and we have a structure around our door. We need some materials. And so I indicated, again, I did all of that in that messy dump. And it shared that before I reach out to the contractor, I first need to, source the materials before I reach out to him to have him come back out. So just put things together in order. It didn't solve it didn't solve all my problems, but it gave me clarity in terms of what to do next.
Do you think there's a such thing as relying on AI too much? I've heard people say that AI is making us all dumb. Their words, not mine. But, there's no truth to it making us dumb, but we do have to think less. I think we're thinking more about the right things than things that don't matter. But I mean, what do you think about that?
I don't think that it's making us dumb. I think that consciously, maybe, I think about like my daughter's school. They're trying to incorporate AI so that AI is a tutor and not a cheater. And so it's just about
Yeah.
how you use it. And, going back to what you said, yes. So you're thinking about, things that are those
Hmm.
reactive things so we can think less about those things that are constant and focus on other things. One of the examples, and I don't want to get too technical, but I'm going back to again another work conference that I can recall. I don't know if you've ever heard about the four quadrants.
Of importance.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the, Eisenhower model.
Okay.
You've got your things that are a priority, the things that, are a priority that are gonna have the highest return. You've got the things that, you need to focus on that are really going to move you forward, and
Mhm.
then you have the things that are the noise, the things that take all of your time but have the lowest return, and so I think what
Mm.
AI is going to do help with that clarity so that we can shift those things that are low priority but take the most time, like emails, returning calls, just redundant tasks, meeting minutes, things like that. AI is going to help with those things so that we can focus on the other items that require more of our time.
So, Kiana just gave you your homework for the week. Go through all of your tasks, everything that gets your energy, and ask AI to create a four-quadrant system for
Mhm,
you. Because we've said this previously, but people have a lot of goals and things that they want to accomplish. And we all have a lot of
mhm.
responsibility. We're all wearing multiple hats. And like you said earlier, it is hard to decide. It's hard to decide what should I be working on, what can wait till next week, all of those things. I think that'd be a great assignment. I might do that. And when we leave here.
I no, I agree. I mean, it's always, beginning the start of the year, we think about
Yeah.
goals and things that we wanna accomplish. And so, being able to focus and maximize AI, going back to your point, does AI is it making us dumber? No, I think with any tool, you need to we need to continuously use it and figure out how it can improve. What I think most of all, though, that there's no way around it. So I think you don't have the option to sit it out. I think right now people are still on the fence about how to engage with AI. And I can understand that. I mean, and that's what we want to do. We want to be able to show you how we're using AI and applying it to our lives. There's so much information, and you know, I'm not looking at every viral, update related to AI and jumping on the bandwagon, because there's a lot of information that's out there, but I think the option to sit it out is not there.
Yeah. And I think we want to remove that pressure. I tried to listen to it was a podcast, and they were basically walking through what happened in AI this week. When I tell you I took a nap. Well, you know what I mean? Like, it was so much jargon and technical, and it's like trying to keep up to the minute with what's actually going on in AI. That's a completely different lane from what we're suggesting where people should start, right? Start with a few things, figure out your issues, your problems, and how
Mhm.
AI can help you. And then when I think about, the rebuttal to is AI making us dumb, I actually think AI is leveling the playing
Mhm.
field because whatever issues you had, insecurities, things where you didn't perform well, AI is like in your back pocket now. You have you know what I mean? It's really removing the excuses. And I had a thought, it was kind of controversial, but I was like, what if AI is the 40 acres and the mule? What if AI
Oh, wow.
you know what I mean? Because all the things that, we didn't have access, we didn't
Mhm.
have money, we didn't have teams, we didn't have, information. All of that is gone. All of those barriers are gone like that.
That is pretty, I mean, that's profound, but you're right. It levels the playing field across the board. I mean, if there's something that you are passionate about and you want to know more about, you can have, whatever tool you like, chat, Claude, you can figure out what works best for you to teach you more about whatever that topic is. In terms of information and wanting to know more, it is just endless. Before we would say, I don't know how to do something. Oh, well, just Google it. You can take it so much further now with AI. You can even say, um, pick a topic. If you want to know more about stocks and dividends, you
Mhm.
can even say, ask AI about that and then say, hey, this is something that I'm interested in over the next 30 days. Set up a course
Mhm.
or set up a calendar so that tell me where I should go, what I should focus on over the next 30 days so that I become an expert in stocks.
Yeah, it's AI is really breaking down systems, for the good and bad. But I think about how many people feel stuck in life because they couldn't afford to go to college.
Mhm.
It's not accessible to them. And now, like you said, you can map out your own college.
Mhm.
You can
Mhm.
decide
Yeah.
you're gonna. And the glory of AI is that and what's it the beauty of AI is that you used to have to watch hours and hours and hours of YouTube videos,
Mhm.
or everything to try to piece this together. And now you can just boil it down to exactly what you want in seconds. Like,
Yeah, I'll even take it a step further, and we'll talk about, different AI models. I'm not necessarily pro one or the other. They all have different, for me, it has evolved. But with ChatGPT and its voice mode, you were talking about you can actually, in terms of college, using the voice feature, the live voice feature, you can actually ask ChatGPT to be an instructor. And, let's just say I want to know
mm,
more about, you know, marine biology. And you can ask in voice mode, you can say, hey, I want to pretend, the role you're going to be a course instructor. Teach me about marine biology. And you can have a back and forth conversation, like literally a one-on-one with a college professor.
I love that.
That's something that I used. I mean, that's a feature that I've been using at home with my daughter for homework assistance. We take a screenshot of her homework problems and say, let's practice our spelling words. And it goes back and forth where she's spelling and it's saying, no, you didn't spell that correctly. This is what you should, this is how you spell it. And it's a back and forth conversation. That I think is just, you're talking about in terms of leveling the playing field.
Mhm.
I think that is just, impressive.
Yeah, I saw something interesting on LinkedIn the other day, and it was a recruiter who said that you shouldn't use AI during your interviews because the hiring managers could tell. And my I'm like, and everybody in the comments was like, how are people using AI in interviews? She said that there's an app and you have it open and listening. Say you have your chat GPT open, it's listening. So it hears when the person dictates the question to you. You're sitting there and chat gives you an answer and you read it back. And to me, that's almost like too much work. I thought it was too much work, but now that I just explained it, I'm like, I guess they might have just had ChatGPT open. I am also against it because you still need to bring yourself to situations like that. But I had never even considered that. I was like, what?
Yeah, that's a bit much. What I would say to that, and then just AI in general, and we'll talk more. And for anyone that is a subscriber to our newsletter, we talked about um getting the goody out of the good in terms of AI, but part of that is having it understand your voice so that it speaks and talks like you, but you want to keep your personality. We shouldn't sacrifice our personality for efficiency. So, in that interview setting, yes, you're saying all of the right things, or at least what you think, but your personality is missing.
I want to circle back to what you said because you made me think about something I actually just a prompt I put in the other day. When you talk about holding things in your head, and I think you talked about being stuck and being frozen.
Mhm.
So I actually put a prompt in the other day. One of the things I'm working on is I just joined Substack several months ago. And now I'm at a point where I need to proactively build community there and meet new people. And I have been procrastinating. It just dawned on me I'm like, "You're procrastinating. Your AI told you what to do several weeks ago, and you've done nothing." You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it's like so then I followed up with another prompt. I'm procrastinating on, expanding my Substack community and networking with those people. And so my ask was, give me the most efficient way to get it done. Give me the order of the steps. And then most importantly, what can you do for me? So
Mhm.
I added that layer of like, maybe another reason I'm stuck and frozen is because I'm trying to handle everything that AI, you know what I mean? That's a different question. So I'm hoping that I'll take action on the answers, but that kind of toes the line of what you were mentioning earlier. It's like taking action and getting things out of your head at the same time.
Yeah, AI I mean, it's not gonna solve all of our problems. We still have to put action behind the output that it provides for us, but it can certainly help unfreeze, and smart people are become frozen in terms of, we're all capable, we're all smart
Mhm.
individuals, but, we get frozen with decisions. And so, using AI to help provide that clarity.
So if you have enjoyed this conversation and we've at all helped you shift your perspective on how you're going to use and interact with AI, leave us a comment, share this video, help us grow this community, and help us further AI education. Any final words, cuz?
Try to brain sweep, go through put your to-do list into ChatGPT, ask it to give you some clarity in terms of next steps. I love to see kind of what you come up with. Each platform is different. So love to hear feedback. Drop it in the comments. I'm Kiana,
And I'm Jerry.
and this is the Prompt Life.
See you later.